what we'll do is start a 6-week project. So I reckon mid-August or thereabouts, where we are today. So what's today's date? We are, what's the date? 12th of August here. So by the 1st of October, which is the first day of Q4, which is a glorious day in the Amazon calendar, because Q4 we can do some really, really good sales. We're not going to get caught up with shipping queues or inventory limits. We should all, with the knowledge we've got, the time frame ahead and the opportunity on Kindle, be planning for a really big Q4. So what I'd like to propose is that we as a group on these weekly calls over the next 6 weeks all have a new book up and selling by the 1st of October. So this would require some serious work, some serious momentum, and a big push on your part. I will take these calls for the next 6 weeks and keep you all on track and bullied and chivied and chased along and motivated. And I think we can do this. I'm going to do one as well with you. And what we'll do today is the first part of the full cycle. So even if you've got books in production, so we've got 80 odd people live on the call, and there'll be lots more watching this as a replay. How many, I'd like to get 86 yeses, think they could start a whole new book and do this? So go cranking through it. Can we get 86 out of 86? Start a whole new book and get it live by the 1st of October. All right, going a bit too fast to count these. Lots of yeses. So it depends a little bit on how far you are through the training, how hard you're going to have to work. But I know when I started swatting up on Kindle, I pretty much sat and watched and learned a whole load of stuff. I did podcasts, I did some online courses, I spent hours on Kindle. The getting your head around how to do this, I think you can do this in a solid day or two of sitting down and concentrating. The KPI course makes it easier for you to learn than it was for me to figure out, because you don't need to do all the trial and error and stitching together 16 different strategies you found online, plus the testing of what works. So I think we're up to about 86. In fact, there's more people on the call now, so I'm expecting 96. But depending on where you're up to with the training, you may or may not be ready to do book topic research today. There's a few little fundamentals around how sales of ebooks and paperbacks work on Kindle. So you need to watch module 1 for the foundations on that. Module 2, you should watch. That's all the mindset stuff, which is really important. If you've got focus, a clear runway and a time frame and a goal here, you can totally do this. It's not going to take hours and hours every day. But I would say of this plan to get a book live by the 1st of October, to have a new digital asset selling on the first day of Q4, I think you'd be feeling very proud of yourselves if you did that. I'd be very proud of all of you if you can do this. And I know you can, but what percentage, I'm going to put Virginia on the spot, what percentage of the workload to make that happen do you think would happen in the next 7 days?
So I think it's really more intense at the beginning. So really that's creating that outline. Before even creating the outline, find the topic. So that's where I think you're going to spend most of your time, and you're going to, maybe getting into that too much of analysis and not being able to take to make the plunge. So I think it will be really good if you can give yourself for each of those phases a time frame. So say if you want to come up with a book topic, this is it. You have, say, 3 days.
Yep.
You spend as much time or as little time I think you need, and then find those topics, and 80% is good enough. Don't try to tick all the boxes, because you're never going to be able to do that, and just go with it. There's a bit of a gut feel in all those things that we do, where we can never be sure 100% that the books will be selling. But if you don't jump, you're not even going to have a book to sell. So give yourself maybe, say, 3 days for coming up with a topic, do all the profitability assessment, and then maybe another 3 days or 5 days to write the book outline. And then, for each of those milestones, give yourself a time frame and to aim for launch by 1st of October.
So if we set a time frame for all of you, and we do this all together as a big group, it'll give you a little bit of pressure to keep up with the group. And so what I reckon is by this time next week, you should all have had a day or two to finish any training that you need to do, a day or two to do book topic research, and a day or two to start the outline, which adds up to 7 days. Do you think you could all get an outline done in a week? I reckon finishing the training, you probably need the very most number of hours, the absolute max hours of watching video time would be 4, I'd say. You wouldn't need more than 4 modules worth to get started with this, but you don't need to learn about advertising and launching until you've got the thing written. So I would say 90%, maybe 95% of your workload for this is in the next 7 days. So I've launched this on you unannounced, but I do feel like everything is just lining up for us at the moment with the timing, the size of the market. Just want to really crank on. Like, I feel frustrated that I've got so many book ideas and I never actually get all of the ones I want to done. So what I think we'll do today is just run through what I would expect you to be able to do over the next 7 days. And yeah, exactly, Beth, we're not going to get distracted with the marketing. That will just happen when you've got a good book. And as Virginia said, it doesn't need to be the 100% best book ever written. We're not going for the Booker Prize. We are not going to be the best-selling book on the bookshelves of all the top bookstores. We are going for a Kindle and a paperback, quick version, 20, 30,000 words, probably 30,000 words. There's going to be a scramble for the best copywriters in the world because, ghostwriters, sorry, because we're going to all hit them at once if we go through this together. So there's some incentive to be the front of the pack. Get yours out first. So there's plenty of agencies, there's plenty of individual ghostwriters. That shouldn't be a limiting factor. And I think you would generally give them a 4-week window. If it comes back as 5 or 6 weeks, what can you do? We can only go as fast as we can go. But I think if we have a book outline ready to send out to a ghostwriter this time next week, we'll be in good company on a good time frame with a really good feeling of making the most of this opportunity we've got and the support you've got from us. And it'll force you to engage with all the training. It'll make you feel guilty if you turn up this time next week and haven't done it. So it's going to be quite a crunch week, and there's not been much warning, but I do think this is the time to get stuck in. So some people are kind of motivated by moving towards something, like they love the feeling of seeing the email from Amazon, your Amazon payment is on its way. That's a really motivating thing for a lot of people. I'm Scottish, so I just hate wasting money. So my main motivator is not to miss an opportunity or to waste money or to that fear of missing out. I hate it. It's such a weakness, but it motivates me. Like when I'm looking at, say, an exam, I don't want to fail and I don't want to do badly. And then there's another part of me that wants the A+. So, we're all wired a little bit differently on this, but sort of stick and carrot. So this is a lot of carrot because you're going to have the energy and momentum of a big group going through together. And you've got some stick of that feeling of being left behind. So don't be the people left behind. If you do get left behind, and it's for valid reasons, don't beat yourself up. But this is all from good intentions to really push you along faster than you would push yourself. And that's part of the value of being in a program like this. We've got these live calls once a week and we get to work together. So what I think we should do first is have a look at the process for, I'm just going to put my screen up. Oh no, trying to get into Safari and Chrome's got a view on that. All right, let's put my screen share on, because when I now this slide here is just that wheel that goes around all the 8 steps. I mean, some of them are broken into 8 and 8.1 and bits and pieces, but really what we're expecting to do up front is always brainstorm new book topics. I'm going to spend the bulk of today's session doing some brainstorming on book topics. We're just going to hop around on Amazon, throw subcategories out there. You can take notes, don't all do the same thing, obviously, but I'll point to some categories that I think are good ones to do right now and that suit the platform, that suit the kind of readers that buy on this platform, and that are quick and easy as well. I mean, we don't want to take on a masterpiece at this stage of the game. This is like getting the first quick win and getting that feeling of learning the ropes on a quick book. So the book topics is the first thing. And then actually getting your book title and kind of point of difference with it together. And what we'll do is review that next week. And also we'll do a recap of writing book outlines on the session next week, because you'll have got a draft one by then. So you don't need to have sent it out next week, but if you've got a draft book outline together for next week's call, that's what we'll go through on the call, best practice for those outlines. And then you can make any adjustments that you feel you need to make on yours, spruce it up a bit, and then hit send and off it goes. And then that starts your kind of 4-week wait until the manuscript comes back and you've got something to launch. So the sooner you can get that outline, even in draft form, the better. And a lot of the ghostwriters, this is where the quality of what comes back, this is where you have the most impact on that. So the more detailed, the clearer the point of difference, the style, the tone, the better you can do a job of briefing your writer, the less toing and froing. I'm in some Facebook groups with some other author communities, and they seem to get an alarming number of horrible manuscripts back. You know, they just hit some random person on Upwork, give them a 3-sentence brief, and some junk comes back and they seem surprised. We teach you a really tight process here because there's one best way to do it that makes it really clear what you're wanting. And a lot can get lost in translation. And these people are professional writers. So a good ghostwriter will do a good job. And you might want to see a draft after each chapter, which will keep them tracking along. The big agencies generally don't work like that, but the independents will give you drafts as you go or chapters as they go. And they might give you a certain word count each week of the 4 weeks, which would be nice for you. You can, if you're using an independent ghostwriter and need to get it edited or proofread, you can start getting that underway as you go. So I'm quite a fan of the agency for the nonfiction, though. I just quite like that those professional writers, they don't need to be a subject matter expert. They're trained to research and write, and the agency will match up your brief to the right writer and they'll quality control the whole thing too, which is a big plus. And then there's only one sort of step. You don't have to then edit it and proofread it and get a cover design. So there are some agencies there, and maybe Virginia, you can ping some bits in the chat box about that, or maybe we save that for next week. We'll see how we go today. But what I think we should do is first I need to just plunge this coffee because I'm running on fumes today. I've had 3 nights of my 9-year-old son just not sleeping at all. He's had a cough, a cold, asthma, chest infection. The nanny's now got it, so I've had no help. I'm just a little bit zapped, hence the mega coffee. I think I could stand a teaspoon up in this. So we will.
Sorry, can you scroll the your screen up?
Oh,
See the bottom. Yeah.
I'm on my little laptop, so just to really polish off my morning, my normal laptop just thinks it's 4 a.m. and thinks it's May 2020. It just I had to do a software update for the latest whatever operating system overnight. This is not speaking to me. It's just like not ready for 2021. It's gone back to some pre-pandemic time. So yeah, it's locked and not cooperating. But also, I do have KD Spy on this other machine as well, so this will be just fine. But the screen's a bit small, and I've got some weird settings. So there we go. So we've got the brainstorm book topics, select a book, and then create the outline. I'm not going to do much detail today on how to write the book outline because we've got plenty of training on best practice for that in the members area in the training modules. So let's jump into just, now I'm sorry if this is really hard to watch because watching other people scroll on screens kind of almost gives you motion sickness, and the person reading and driving at the same time and doing the scrolling can kind of know where to track their eyes. And when you watch other people do it, it's awful. So I apologize if it's all a bit so hard to follow, but this is also the actual way that I find new books. So I kind of just flick through random categories on Amazon. There's some, we're going to just stick with nonfiction. I'm just going to quickly check in the chat box if there's any questions before we start.
Yeah, I'm just answering all the questions in the Q&A box as we go. I think everything is pretty much has been covered. Yeah, we're just going to start with nonfiction. You know, well, yeah.
And the way this is designed as a wheel in this little sketch we've got here for you, it's because it really does have to keep turning. You don't just do this once. So once you're really confident with this process and you're feeling competent, you've got the agencies underway with the first book, this first time will let you off the hook to do one at a time. But after that, you really want to just give this wheel a big spin and keep it spinning, and always have something moving through that process, and just always know what's next in your pipeline, feed it into the system, and just keep building up those books you want to sell. So everyone will have different levels of ambition, and the first one's definitely a big learning exercise. And I'm still being caught out with little things that I hadn't thought of or didn't know about all the time with new books. And Amazon changes things, and the market changes, and the industry of services around us changes us too. Christina keeps popping her hand up. Do you want to just pop any questions in the chat box, and Virginia will see it there, please, Christina? Okay, now where is my, I've got Zoom boxes in all the wrong places. I have to reset passwords for everything. So on my screen share, I think you can now all see my, I'm just going to move this out of the way. Close that. I'll change my delivery address because let's go to, let's choose a US address. Ellen Loden, you're in luck today. I think poor Ellen gets quite a lot of gifts from me randomly. So I think she was a coaching client from Amazon years ago, and I sent her a gift for something. And then when I'm doing my Amazon research, I have to put in a US delivery address when I'm researching products or books, because the list of results that come up is different for the ones that would deliver just to New Zealand. And so I think sometimes it's the default address when I do shopping on Amazon. I just get some random like horse supplies sent to a house occasionally, because sometimes things haven't turned up and then I see that the default address is Ellen in Clinton. So anyway, we've got a US delivery address. This is important. KD Spy actually likes you to be logged out of Amazon when you do your research. But I'm willing to live with this because I haven't been using this machine or doing much on this account. So I was starting off with Kindle ebooks. So when you start at the top of the page up here, all of Amazon, you can go into the book section, or you can go into the Kindle book. So I started with the Kindle store and then Kindle ebooks. So there's all these short stories. I mean, there's probably absolute gold mines out in the, why is this going back? Where are all the devices and all the short stories and stuff?
Maybe this is a good question. Carrie is asking, I've been wondering, why do we set the address as USA for our research? I'm based in the UK, so wondering why I wouldn't choose it. Okay,
so the US market is by far the biggest, but I still get quite healthy sales in the UK. In fact, if I have I think I won't bother logging in now, but I'd say 40% of my income is actually from Italy, which is a subject for a different day because that international stuff is brilliant. India would be bigger than my UK sales at the moment. So the US is where it's at really. But it's a bit seasonal because the US are all jollying off on their summer holidays and at the beach at the moment. So they're not reading books on day trading, they're reading romance trash on the beach, beach summer reads. Whereas in the depths of winter, people read a different sort of book and people read more in the winter. And also this year is a bit unusual. As soon as people can travel, the last thing they're going to do is sit at home and read a book. So,
and yes, sorry. Are you looking for topic assessment or just topics at the moment? Because Someone asked that we should be using incognito.
Yeah, we should be really. I need to probably log out. Hang on.
If you just do Shift Command and N, that will Shift Command N. You will open a new incognito window.
Da, da, da. All right, where's the? All right. Delay on my laptop now, it's not typing. It's very spy-like. Now I'm logged in. I'll just put famous zip code that everyone uses for everything. Okay, so all laptop, it's very slow today. So by department.
You are not sharing a screen.
Oh, well, it's saying, I think maybe incognito is not letting me share screen because it says, oh, bring your shared window to the front. I don't know how to do that.
Stop sharing and then share back again with the full window. There's a few selection.
Can't even see the Zoom box now. I'm showing my desktop. Whatever I can see, you should be able to see. That's what I had before as well.
Yeah.
That's not the incognito one. The incognito one goes when I share my screen. All right, let's just do it without incognito because this is a demo rather than a real one. So let's go Kindle Books. This is my tiny laptop screen as well. It's very pokey. Go bigger. Brill. Okay, so if we went into Kindle Books, we'll go into ebooks here. So just as a reminder, Kindle Unlimited is where you can make a lot of money with fiction books because people will churn through those books and make you a lot of money because there's just a fund for the number of pages read by the people who have unlimited access to Kindle. So that's good. Just as an aside, I'll talk to you about that another day.
Sorry, I'm typing really loudly.
Gosh, this is slow today. It's whirring. Gosh, there's such a lag on Amazon. I don't know if it's this big storm in the mountains slowing everything down. It's not. So annoying. I don't think I've got anything else open I can close. All right, so here we go. This is what I want to show. So what I want to do is just do a gallop through these high level categories and just talk about the general hotspots that I think are really good ones. So we've got arts and photography. Still just whirring very painfully. It's not giving me the kind of hand thing to click. It's very annoying. Can't do anything while my laptop's not moving. So what I would do here is go through, well, we can talk through these at the high level. So arts and photography is a really good subject, but you don't want to be doing the kind of the coffee table, high production quality photography type book with lots of glossy pictures. But if it's learning a skill in the arts or photography, that's fine. There might be good biographies you could write about from people in the arts. And then there could be, if you think about university subjects, so one place I go to look for book topics is, I think they've just rebranded, but you know the thing called the Great Courses. Have you come across that? Have you heard of the Great Courses? They always advertise on podcast in advert gaps, but it's a they sell them through Audible as well now. I think they've just rebranded and changed their name, but the Great Course is the kind of the adult learning delivered by university lecturers, but it's sort of outside of the university. So you don't get the degree, but you get like blocks of 24-hour lectures of history of American politics, 1919 to 1923 or whatever, you know, like little blocks, really specific stuff. Oh, I'm unresponsive. Right, that's just too hard. It was working fine before the call. So anyway, Great Courses is a good way to look at what non-fiction things adults are learning about, because there's an entire marketing machine and research team and focus groups researching what topics adult learners are paying to learn about. So they're sitting there listening to 24 hours of lectures on ancient Egyptian history. Then that could be a really good topic for you to go on. So I'll just open it up. Just open. So there's Great Courses and Great Courses Plus. I've got to log into this. The other ones, I'll just do a few while I'm thinking of them. And here's some tips for you. These are things that will be on trend, in demand, things that people are interested in and spending money on. So the Great Courses, so when we look at something like the arts and photography, oh my goodness, this laptop's about to get hurled out the window. I might wonder if maybe, Virginia, you could do a screen share on yours, or just prepare to, just in case it doesn't work. It seems to be going here now. So say we've got architecture, art. So say history of art, that could be a subject that's a bit hard to do in a Kindle ebook without photographs of the paintings that you're talking about. Say fashion would be hard because that's so visual, but maybe there's within individual artists, there could be biographies of famous artists. So Botticelli, artist and designer, Renaissance lives. So 22 books about the Renaissance. So you don't need to get any permission from Botticelli to write about his art. There'd be plenty of experts online who'd be able to research plenty of great content to write a great book about Botticelli. And I like how somebody's already done this, come up with a series of 22 books about Renaissance lives. So that's a cool product. So they've hardly got, well, they've got, I wonder what the sales of that would be. We can have a look on Katie Spy. I'm not sure if I dare press any more buttons. I think this laptop might just implode. Come on, laptop. It's not been my day today. I'm not going to get through very many of the categories at this rate, but I think it's important to show you the process I follow. So one is I'm looking for other cross correlation points in the real world that tell you what people are interested in spending money on. So the Great Courses topics, if I just hit here and I look at, say, arts or whatever that one would be under, music and fine arts, there's 96 expensive courses in here where people, we don't think we can do how to sing, but I bet there's some history of art stuff in here. So here we go, Leonardo da Vinci and the Italian High Renaissance. So people are paying $300 odd for that. Everything in there, we could probably write a book about, because they're 24 hours of audio lectures would probably be a 30,000 word book. Which other ones would be here? Art across the ages. I mean, you could do a great series there, The Genius of Michelangelo, Art of the Northern Renaissance. So these are all like $300, $400, $500 US. They will need some sort of, you'd have to get some sort of images in the book, but you can just license those in. That's not too hard. The more important thing is you're talking about the history of the person. So you're talking about the life of Michelangelo, say. So that can be a way to go, well, over on Amazon, here's an idea. We do some Renaissance lives. Here's a format. Here's one artist, or here's a musician, or here's the history of somebody. And that can be a nice template for a topic for you to go and jump in on for your new book. So I would totally look into that, because the Great Courses is giving sort of evidence that people are interested in learning about this. And on Amazon, there's some people with some books, but it probably isn't very crowded. And Katie Spy is not playing the game at all. So it's just most exasperating. We'll try and see how much this Michelangelo one's going for. The Botticelli, we'll see how many they're selling of that in a month. Maybe I need to click, I'll just click on this exact one. We'll just get one. New release. It should work now. $11.50. While we're waiting for that, I'll just top over. So Masterclass. There's another one of these sites I go to that's a non-fiction area of the world where people spend money online to learn about a skill in either business or personal development that they're interested in. So the classes on here can be a good source of inspiration for non-fiction books for you to write. It's evidence of what people are interested in. And this is how you kind of get ahead of the curve on Kindle rather than playing catch up with an Amazon book bestseller. Go and see what's happening out in the real world on sites like this. Even Netflix, if Netflix does a series on Marco Polo, then, you know, do a book on Marco Polo, or if they're doing something on Bridgerton, do something about that era. Or if there's, what's another thing that's on Netflix? Can't think at the moment. What was the last thing I watched on Netflix? So I watched a very dark movie set in Lebanon.
How about I call up New York Magazine, tell them you're physically intimidating your soul.
Oh, stop. Right. But anyway, you get the idea. You can go to these other sites and see what people are paying to learn about. So there's some kind of cross correlation and evidence of what's happening in the real world with what you could do on Amazon. Now, this didn't come up in the end, did it? Right, we're just going to not wait for Katie Spy today, too hard. So arts and photography, definitely potential for history of art, the lives of artists, how to look at art. You know, these are generic enough subjects that you could easily commission a non-fiction book there. Photography is a bit harder, but how to do photography could be a good one, like how to start a photography business, how to use your iPhone as a very fancy camera. Somebody could easily research and write a book on that. It obviously suits a video type training format better. But if you're very clever, what you could do is have an ebook that's quite cheap and an online course that's not cheap or has some ongoing membership or community. So if it's a subject you're actually interested in, you can always do education or community or courses or other things on sort of behind your initial book. All right, we'll go back to other categories. So I quite like arts and photography. Now we're going through in alphabetical order and we're not going to go through all of them in that much detail, but I'm going to give you some sort of tips in each high level category of what I think would be good. Biographies and memoirs, this is excellent. This is a really good topic. It also, if you're feeling a bit lazy on outline writing, your outline brief to the writer is start at the beginning, write about their life in chronological order. Don't get sued. You know, I think for these, don't do people who are still alive. I think, you know, if you go and do an expose on Tom Cruise's Scientology life or Donald Trump's dodgy or something, you know, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. There's people with lots of lawyers. You get sued even if you use an unflattering photo. You know, you'd have to license stuff, and defamation cases, way too stressful. So historical characters, good. Modern people alive with big legal teams, not good. And something like the history of a band, you'd need pretty good access. That's not going to really work. Somebody like Yayoi Kusama, who does the crazy dotty spotty installations at museums, would not work. Anne Frank, so that's a public domain one. You could probably do that. Wouldn't want to do anything too political. Don't get yourself in trouble. Don't do vaccination stuff. But Holocaust would be an interesting topic. So history is always good. So my little tips there. characters that people are always going to be interested in, you know, like the big leaders of all time, the superstars of different industries, you know, the captains of industry through the ages, you know, who would be an example, Henry Ford or something. You could write about the history of Ford and the business decisions that Henry Ford made that made it such an interesting and successful company for decades. All right, so in here, biographies, we've got women. That's always a good one. You know, if you're trying to niche down a bit, you could do a series of women biographies. You could have Rosa Parks through to whoever, political leaders, military leaders, religious, cultural arts. So they give you some nice ideas there. And then what you can do if your KD Spy is working is just go into that category and then just get some ideas from KD Spy, what's selling, and see the numbers. And that can be a good way to pick a topic. So when you do the analysis of the topic, the questions you're really asking are, is it already really competitive? If there's already 500 biographies on Hitler, you don't really want to do a Hitler autobiography unless you've got some interesting idea of a new angle or a comparison with somebody else. You do like a 2-in-1 book or something. But generally, you don't want to do something that's really saturated and competitive. But you also don't want to be selling 1 copy a year. So you need to find that sweet spot of whatever kind of target monthly income works for you. So I'm always happy with a book that makes $100 a month. If I spend $1,000 producing a book and within less than a year it's paid itself off, that's a return you can get. You just can't get that return anywhere else in any kind of business. Maybe some crypto bubbles might do something spectacular like that, but that's pays itself off in months, not years, and has an ongoing positive passive cash flow. So I'd rather have 50 books that make $100 a month and a big portfolio of low competition, easy sellers that are very low maintenance and have very little competition. I'd always rather have that than chase after the big trendy topics like habits or negotiation skills or something like that that are really trendy and making tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars a month at the moment, but everybody's going to jump on them at once. And then you're going to all be competing with very similar books. So keep clear of the really trendy topics and the really competitive ones. And then there's plenty of books that are in the kind of $500 to $1,000 a month in sales as your competition. That's a nice sort of area to aim for. That's an incredibly quick payback period on investing and creating a digital asset. And then you can just sell it again and again. There's no ongoing cost to keep selling it. So the more competitive it is, the more you're going to have to push advertising and marketing. So my advice to you, having done 8 years of Amazon products where there's always the temptation to go after the big sellers, is, you know, the small fish are sweet. You know, those little ones that nobody else is doing are so easy to gather up, so easy to keep producing, and turn your business into a pipeline that generates lots of smaller selling books and have lots of them, rather than chase after one big bestseller and have to market it like mad to get it seen and cut through the competition. So a really nice number, like my golden zone of where to try and land a book, would be kind of $500 a month in revenue. So that's a really healthy return, really, really quick payback period. So if you're looking on KD Spy, of course, mine's not cooperating very fast today, and you can see that within these particular artist biographies, you know, Da Vinci, Van Gogh, whoever, Botticelli, whoever else, musicians, Renaissance lives, if you can see that there's 5 or 10 of those doing more than 500 a month in sales, you know, you're in a good spot to build a series of books. And it is really nice if you can pick a book where there is potential to build a series of books out of them. So we'll go back from biographies and memoirs. That's a nice one, because for a writer, biographies and memoirs is really easy to research. You know, famous people have lots written about them. People are always interested in successful people. It's one of those nice evergreen topics. They're inspiring to read. They make great gifts. They suit ebook format, audio book format, and paperback format. You get all the readers on a biography or a memoir. So that's a category I'm very fond of. This seems to be quite a top-heavy list, because a lot of my favorite ones are at the top here. Business and money is a really good one. The only caveat for this one is to be really careful you're not giving investment advice. So don't write a book on how to be a day trader. if you are not a qualified, fiduciary, financial, whatever, the legal stuff around giving financial advice, I would keep clear of finance and investment advice. But you could explain how to be an eBay seller. Somebody would write a book on that, or how to, I don't know, I could write a book on how to source products from overseas, thinking about business things I know about. But within business, some topics here that I would go for versus keep clear of, like accounting for small business owners, brilliant topic. You could do one in different countries, just do a series. There's billions of small businesses who just don't understand basic accounting and how to manage money. So you could have that for a school children's series, as accounting at school, accounting at university, sort of a supplement to textbooks. For business owners, how to scale an accounting business, the list goes on. Then you could even do one how to use Xero, how to do your own bookkeeping, must be a dozen different topics within accounting. These will probably all be textbooks for kind of university level. But it's not like you have to invent something. You're going to just write about how to do something. And there's people who you can hire who can write that. Auditing information. This might just put us all to sleep if we spend too long in here. Right, that's a bit dry. So don't try and do a university level textbook, but a summary of something, a guidebook to something. That can always be a good one.
So while your computer is doing its thing, there's quite a common thread of question that comes up about looking for a topic. So there's question about how much of a solid understanding do I need to have about the topic?
Not at all. You do not need to be an expert whatsoever. I do think it helps if you're a little bit interested in it. So even if I saw lots and lots of accounting books, how to pass, so in the UK, it's whatever GCSE, the 16-year-old school exams, guidebooks for students of that age group, and then the next school leaver sort of age, guidebooks for tricky subjects on those sorts of books sell really, really well. I know a guy who sold a maths book for 16-year-olds for the UK system, made hundreds of thousands. So don't do that because it's been done, but it's a good topic to do books on. But I personally wouldn't, because I like to be a little bit more interested in the subject, only because it keeps me motivated. But there'd be no business reason to stop me producing really high quality books on those topics. So a quality writer is also a quality researcher, and it's their job to do the reading and do the work to be able to write a qualified book. So you're not pretending, this is rather ominous, I hope I'm not getting Tom's cough. You don't have to be an expert, you don't even need to know anything about the subject, but I do think it helps you stay more engaged with the business you're building. So within business and money, I would head into the entrepreneurship and small business corner, but I suspect within education and reference, there's probably some great stuff in there, like how to get into Oxford University, or exam techniques, study techniques, leadership stuff, there'd be all sorts in here. Managing change.
So yeah, so more on this topic. So yeah, you don't have to be an expert, but it's good if you have an interest, because otherwise it's going to be really painful every time you have to think about it, do research about it, understand your audience about it. If you're not interested, it's going to be very difficult. For example, I kill all my plants, nothing lives. And if I want to write a book on gardening or some sort of indoor plants care, oh no, I can't. It would be really difficult for me to write on that. So having interest, that's the minimum.
Yeah. So if I had to pick some little hot spots out of this list here, I think for the rest of the time we should go high level into the category, and I'll point out some obvious easy wins or interesting places where you could have a good look around, and also what to keep clear of. So biography and history, great. Not sure what business life is, but I'm not going to click on too many things here because it'll slow us down. Economics, a great one. You could do a whole series, famous economists, how to pass economics exams, case studies for economic, depressions, crashes, stock markets, on it goes. Economics of crypto, Bitcoin, all sorts of economic stuff there. Also, lots of really highly educated people who will write these things for you. So the challenge with these more specialist subjects is the quality of the writer you find. Entrepreneurship and business is great. Finance, a bit trickier, unless it's kind of just an explainer, kind of intro level kind of topic. Green business would be fantastic. Lots of case studies, all sorts of policies you could write about, campaigns, what the big global efforts around different sort of strategies actually mean. Somebody would research and write that stuff up really well. I'm not sure what industries would go into. International business, that could be another good sort of textbook support type non-fiction book. I wouldn't go into investing, but I do know lots of people are making a lot of money selling books on things like day trading or how to buy Bitcoin or something, but that wouldn't be for me, and it feels a bit murky ground on giving advice, so I'd just keep clear of that. Job hunting and career is a great one. Interview techniques, preparing your CV, how to find a job, how modern job hunting works. Everything I listen to is sponsored by ZipRecruiter. I mean, it's not kind of the old school sending a letter kind of industry anymore. So job hunting and career planning is a really huge one. Marketing and leadership, a really big topic. That would be a great one. Marketing and sales, you could do how to run Instagram ads, all those sorts of books are really, really good on Kindle. People buy that stuff. Business owners are really good Kindle readers. They devour stuff. Business owners who are successful always read. Organizational behavior is good, managing change, that kind of stuff. Personal finance, all those barefoot investors, all those books about budgeting, managing profits. And your business, well, that would be more business rather than personal. Budgeting, retiring early, all those sorts of topics, that would be wonderful. Real estate, how to be a real estate agent, I don't know. Skills, all sorts of skills, that would be an interesting one to click on. Tax would be hard to write a book on. If you're going to write a book on tax, good luck. Somebody could though. Technology, that could be a good one. You could talk about trends in artificial intelligence and, do a new edition every year. That could be a really cool series. Or different uses of artificial intelligence, or something around iPhones and all the things iPhones can do or something. So there could be some quite fun stuff there. Business stuff for women's a good one. There's a lady called Barbara Stanny who writes about women and money. And she does probably $100,000 a month in sales on her books about women's mindset around money. And she does basically in those books, she'll interview 7 women or do 7 kind of profiles or case studies of women who make 6 or 7 figures a year and just interview them about how they view money. It's really simple. So that's a good one. Business and money is a great category, one of my favorites. That's where a big proportion of my books are. Not under my name, but we've got an author profile that's churned out quite a few of those. And they're nice because they can always be updated. And somebody who wants a book on Instagram ads will also buy a book on Facebook ads and Pinterest ads. And also then need to build a virtual team. The people that buy one of these have a whole range of other needs, which you can write for. Children's ebooks I've kept clear of. I think one day it would be interesting to bring on a guest speaker who's an expert in children's books. It's a really nice idea. It's a slightly separate strategy. I don't have experience in it firsthand, apart from reading a lot of books to my own children. And I buy a lot of children's books. Yeah, but I can't talk to that one too much. Comics wouldn't be so good. Computers and technology could be great. I saw some books on how to write in Ruby on Rails and how Python and C#, like how to write code. Brilliant. People want that stuff. I saw one on hacking that was making mega sales. I'm so cross Kindle Spy is not working quickly today because I'd love to be able to just go click, click, jump, jump and show you the sales on some of these different little subcategories. But let's see what comes up under computers and technology. How are we for time? 10 minutes. This is good. We'll keep motoring through. Ethical hackers. Get programming. Machine learning, that would be an interesting one. Python programming. Really, dry, one subject per book. Find a geek online to write it up, job done. It's really cool. That would be a great one. So the kinds of people in this industry, if you are a Python code writer or whatever these different languages of code writing are, or the developer people, if they're going to write a book on that subject, they're pretty much only going to have one book to write, because they're not a Kindle business owner looking for topics where there's demand and low competition. They're a subject matter expert with one book to write. So they kind of just do one book and they're done, and it might be a really good book, but there's not really that many others, and they can't really expand from there. But we can see that what they've done gives us evidence that the market wants to learn about this subject. And we just dive in and do a spread of books, all the things that those people who want to learn how to write code need. How to manage a developer team, on it goes, all sorts of stuff. Cookbooks, I think I'd keep clear of that, although I do have a research service I pay for, and they seem to be showing really big spikes in food and wine sales of ebooks. So I think that might just be more people cooking at home since pandemic times, but that was an interesting one. Now, here's a cracker: crafts, hobbies, and home, one of my favorite categories. Knitting patterns would be hard. Decluttering, great topic. Gardening, great topic. They won't all translate into audiobooks, but there's all sorts of junk. People are naughty. They just put things in completely the wrong categories to get ranked, which is naughty. And it makes our research really messy. Lots of guns, along with Tunisian crochet. What a category. You could do books, just while we're looking at dogs here, you could do dog training, how to choose a dog breeds for different household sort of needs. This is a really weird category. It's got all sorts in. So wedding planning, you could do some low content books around wedding planning too. Home design is a good one. Antiques and collectibles could be good, but crafts and hobbies would be excellent. How-to guides. People go to Kindle to buy books on learning skills. So if you've got a good book teaching people how to knit animal hats or fix stuff with darning or crochet this or how to drive a sewing machine or whatever, those books will sell really well. And you can see on KD Spy the numbers selling, so there's no surprises. These are like evergreen topics. They're great things that are going to be around for a long time. How to do calligraphy or quilling or any of those sort of niche kind of hobbies, the artsy crafty people, they want to learn, and they want ongoing reading material. Education and teaching is a really good one. Lots of stuff on homeschooling. This has been a very trying call. I'm very, very sorry about the speed of my laptop today. I don't know what's going on. It's normally, I've got new fiber installed and everything. So you could have things like teenagers' relationship with social media, right through to how to homeschool your children, how to teach your children resilience, how to do all sorts of stuff in. You can see it's such an immature market because so many books are in just completely the wrong category. Amazon just doesn't run this as hard as they run the product side. It's just a messy part of Amazon, all the Kindle stuff. Making maths easy, that could be a great topic. An audiobook just running through the times tables would be great. I have spent so many hours in the car lately doing tables. I am so sick of the 9 times table. Never again. And it's awful because Tom's 9, but Charlotte's, who's only 7, has got them all already, and I'm still teaching Tom. And so, just round and round and round we go. So many tables. We're quite tight on time. So I think what I would do, if I had to pick small categories that I would definitely pay a lot of attention to, go into the book, into the category, go into the subcategory, run KD Spy, look for book topics where you can see books selling on that topic that are making $500 or more a month, maybe a couple of $100 or more a month, and a few of them to give you a bit of spread. You know, it's not just a one-off fluke by some big name bestseller. Check that the demand is real. Follow the KPI training and go through the analysis process there. So I'm just going to give you a few more tips of categories I would definitely look for. So Spanish books are really good. So foreign languages, teaching languages, that would be great. You know, just vocabulary, sentence, short stories in foreign languages would be great. Health, fitness and dieting is always good, but tends to be very competitive. I probably wouldn't do anything in there for your first book. History is excellent, 10 out of 10 choice. Always going to need history books. People who like history are readers. You know, these are our people. This is a good topic to sell into. Can be modern history, can be individual people, biography style history. It can be military strategy. It can be ancient Greek history. I mean, that's really trending. All the ancient Greeks, this is a very ominous croaky voice, the ancient Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians. I mean, write some good stuff on that with a great front cover and you'll be away. Humor and entertainment, hard, law, I would have to dig into that to have a good look at it. LGBTQ plus, always a good one, especially at the moment. Literature and fiction, we'll talk about that another day. Medical, I would keep clear of, unless sort of learn your anatomy or something, but parenting and relationships is really good. So I'd say self-help would be one of the biggest and fastest growing areas this year, and a good one. Political and social science is excellent. Religion and spirituality is a really, really good one. Self-help. Sports and outdoors, if you can teach people a skill or give them some, what's a good example in sports and outdoors? When you can't teach somebody rock climbing, but you could write books about fishing or sailing or how to buy a boat. So that's a good one. I'm sure he's not really called Christopher Cousteau. That looks like a commercial person. We haven't got to the 1st of September 2021 yet. That could be a good one. That sort of book. So it's a bit of a mishmash of stuff in that category. So that's what I think the opportunity is. Spend a couple of days. It is a little bit disorganized chaos as you scroll and click and go backwards and forwards and hit KD Spy and X out of that, go to the next category. Just as a reminder of the main things you really want, you want enough demand. So a few books on that subject, generally on that subject, you know, close enough around one book idea that you could write a book on. So a little cluster of sales where you can see a handful of books making a few $100s a month minimum. You don't want to include any super duper international bestseller books in those numbers. If you see something by John Grisham in the mix, obviously that's not relevant. You've not got the same business model or writing skills or production team as him. So look for other similar self-published type books, a few $100s a month, and in subjects that suit as many formats as possible. So if you can get a paperback, an audiobook, a Kindle ebook, and maybe even foreign languages out of commissioning one book, subjects like history really suit that, religion and spirituality, education, those are really good subjects for that. So just really good evergreen topics that aren't super racy. They can be very niche subjects by the time you're writing how to buy a sailboat or how to write in Python code or how to hack Windows or whatever. Don't write about hacking, but those sorts of book topics, they might sound really niche and obscure, but you don't need that many sales because you're going to get ongoing sales and ongoing profits every single month if you can just slot into that spot where there's a few $100s in sales a month. So I'm very sorry my computer didn't let me do a very good demo of that, because I'd have loved to have just hopped into each layer, dug straight down through the layers and shown the sales at that deep layer, sort of 3 clicks deep into each subcategory. And that's where you can see what the actual activity is. But it was not to be with today's laptop speed. So we'll wrap up there. Is there anything else you want to add, Virginia, before we finish up?
I'm just trying to frankly to answer to all the questions in the Q&A box. And you know how I get a little bit stressed if I'm not answering all the questions. I'm almost there. Almost there. I think just one more question from Wandana. How do you handle non-fiction and fiction books that show up for the same category in KD Spy? So if your book is in non-fiction, you just put a cross at the end of that line. So that's why we said it, for the first 20 titles on KD Spy, you need to check each title to make sure that they are actually relevant to your book. So if you're writing nonfiction and it's actually nonfiction and it's actually a fiction book that comes up, you need to remove that from your profitability assessment. So this line will not be removed physically, but it will change the BSR on top. Okay, I have an idea for children's book, nonfiction, but written as an adventure story. Thinking of doing a mini series. How many words should I be looking at, please? Maybe check what your competitors are doing and just do something that's similar to them. Yeah, and then maybe Sophie, just to summarize the challenge, what your
okay. We would love to see you this time next week have done some digging around on sorry, I've got phone ringing. Some digging around in the different subcategories, come up with a book topic, done the research on the keywords, the competition, and found yourself a nice little pocket with a subject for a book that you can then write an outline on. So you're going to follow the KPI training on how to write the outline, use our template, that'll step you through it so you won't go wrong. But you're just looking for a book on the topic where there's enough demand, not too much competition, and it suits the format and the type of person who shops for books on Amazon. So if you can find a book that breaks even in a year, that's a great use of your time for the next week, because it's taught you the process and got you in the game rather than sitting on the sidelines. I will sort out my laptop for next week. I might need to go and get an upgrade one and new technology time. Don't know why it's so slow. It's normally lightning fast. I've never had it this slow before. So I look forward to seeing you this time next week with a flurry of outlines sitting in your hot little hands, ready to review that outline process. I'll answer any questions about the topic research and how to choose that little sweet spot where there's, you're in that Goldilocks zone. There's enough demand, not too much competition, and you've got to really, the topic just suits the format of ebooks. The keywords are in demand, people are searching for them, it's evergreen, and we can pick it up from there. So we'll wrap up there. Thank you very much, everyone. Glad to see so much enthusiasm for this little 6-week sprint. This is the biggest week doing the book research, and if at the end of next week's call you need to do a bit of redirecting and quickly adjust your strategy, you'll still have time. But if you can do a big push now, you'll be well on your way to a Q1 book. So we'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, just really excited and looking forward to seeing how you progress over the next 7 days. So get cracking today, have a busy weekend, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.